Welcome to Cheap Controls. We make videos on things that we struggled with, hoping to help you so you don't. Consider subscribing and hitting that bell. In this video, we're going to send a value from the Arduino up to the Nextion, and we're going to populate a float field. And then at the end of this video, we're going to recap all three methods. If you didn't see the other two, I'll put a link up above right about here to the first one of the series. And then at the end of that one, there's a link to the second one, and then to the third. I'm going to paste in the third example now. We did the same thing. We're going to put in a new line and then to float so we can show it on the serial print here, our value. I've created an x val as a variable and I've assigned it long, so it's a big value. And then what I did is I multiplied float times 10,000. When I do my multiplication, I have to know how many decimal places I want to go. If I want 2, I'd multiply it by 100, 3, 1,000, but I want 4, so I multiplied it by 10,000. So it makes this x value 10,000 times whatever the float value was. In other words, it moves the decimal place over 4 places. And then we can send it as a value. So we're going to print it first to the Arduino serial monitor, and then we're going to use the X one, the float, what Nextion calls its float, dot value, and we don't need the extra quotes around this because it is just a value, followed by the 3 FFs. So I'm going to upload this now and switch over to the monitor and the Nextion. Now you can see we have 4 values coming in, and you can see that this is exactly 10,000 times whatever this value is. And over here, we're showing the same thing. It's the same, but it's off. And what we really want this to say is 2.0392. I'm going to close this and show you why it's not. If you go down to the VVS1, we only have it set to 2. We would need to set that to 4 in order to get that decimal point. But we're going to do it a little different way. I'm going to paste in some more text. What we're going to do is we're just going to assign it in the Arduino, x0 VVS1 equal to 4, and then send the 4f's. And in this way, if you had different pages that were going to the same box, you could change the value of the decimal point dynamically. We'll upload this and I'll show you that it'll change. You can see we're getting the same values here. I'm going to start it here, and you'll see that this should change, and it did. So now we're getting all the same values. But I left this button here so you can see that now the actual value that is here is 20,392. But if you needed to do math on it, let's say you wanted to take that number, you wanted to take 2.004 times 5 for some reason. You would take it times 5,000 to get the value that you want. And then you could display it using the decimal point like this, or you could divide it then by 10,000 if you just needed the integer value. There are lots of ways you can manipulate the data in here to get what you want. I'm going to get rid of the delay just so you can see this work, and as I change the potentiometer, it'll change fast. But we'll change it to 100. And now as I change the potentiometer, it changes fast. And you can see that all the values stay the same. If I hit that, you can get that value down into an actual text box, because this box up here and this box down here contain values which you can do math with, whereas these just contain text. So just to briefly recap, we took a float value, read it in on pin 0 on the Arduino, and then we sent it just as straight text, just printf that value up there, and we use this comma value to set our decimal places. For the second example, we use this double to string function with the float value right there, and we just determined, I'll set this back to 6. You have to determine at the beginning how many characters long it's going to be, but as long as it's one value plus the decimal point is 2, and then we want 4 decimal places, and then we store it in this result, and then we just print the result. It's not that much more difficult than this, except for you don't get error states sometimes, even if you have something wrong. In the third example, you had to decide how many decimal points you have, multiply the number by that, and then in the Nextion, you have to set the VVS1 val equal to where you want the decimal place to be. And you're kind of, in that case, you're kind of tricking it to display the right value, even though it's not the right value, but yet you can do some math on it in the Nextion at that point. Well, that's about it for this video. If you like what you saw, consider giving me a thumbs up, and also consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching.